So what I'm going to talk about today is a plan and a new zoning district that the village created within the last year. The village has, because we're outside of Chicago and we're a suburb of Chicago, we have the metro system, the train system that runs in and out of Chicago. There's a train station that stops in Aurora, which is just north of Montgomery. That's the last stopping point of that train system. The village hopes in the future to get a train station extended through the village. The tracks are there, the infrastructure is there. It's just a matter of getting, the demand, proving the ridership, and going forward with it. So in order to do that, we had to create a plan. We got money through the Regional Transportation Authority to get a grant to do a planning study for a future metro station, as well as a park and ride service, and to put a plan together for the redevelopment of our downtown. One of the recommendations of that were zoning changes. So what we did is we took the recommendations from that plan and started implementing those into our zoning ordinance. We actually created a whole new zoning district, commercial zoning district for our downtown. The village currently had 3 different business districts, we call them. They were all meant for greenfield developments, more conventional developments than you would see in a traditional downtown area. And we had a lot of different zonings in the downtown. We had 2 different commercial zoning districts throughout the downtown, as well as different residential districts. So it was really impossible for anyone to come in and really develop a traditional downtown through the vision that the village wants to see happen, and as well as financially for the developers. So we created this new district called the Mill District. What it did was it made the restrictions on zoning, lessen them. So we reduced setback requirements, we reduced parking requirements, we reduced landscaping requirements, we increased building heights, we increased floor area ratios. Basically what we did is we took a land that typically would have 1 parking space required for every 200 square feet of building. You would have front yard setbacks and rear yard and side yard setbacks that were really large that you couldn't build on. What we did is we took those regulations, reduced them, and then basically made the land more valuable. We took that land where you could maybe only build on, say, 50% of it, and now basically you could practically build on 100% of it if you did it correctly. So you basically made your land more valuable, and you can do more with it for less money, just based on the zoning regulations. So that really helps a lot. We've talked about earlier today how the developers come in, they're asking for some money, they're asking for some handouts. Sometimes in today's economy, local governments, we don't have the money either, simply because sales taxes are down. We're not getting a lot of sales funds and other things like that. Revenues are down. So one way to help with development is through zoning changes. I want to talk about a little bit about the process that we used. So what we did, we created the Mill District. We did the zoning text amendments, did the public hearings, planning commission, board approvals, all the necessary things. Well, we got the zoning district. Now the problem is nothing is zoned the Mill District. Everything, like I said, there were probably 4 different types of zoning within the downtown area that we wanted to focus on. So what we did is, instead of typically, landowner will come in and say, oh, I want to rezone my property. You go through the process. There's fees involved. There's attorney fees. There's planning commission meetings, public hearings, those types of things. For these individual property owners, which many of them were residential owners, some small business owners that aren't very sophisticated in the process. It's easy if you have a sophisticated developer, but when you've got regular people that are just living here, they don't know about the process, they don't know about requirements. So what the village did is we did all the work for them. We probably had over 100 properties in mind in the beginning. Maybe only about 50 got rezoned, just based on the discussions with the board, discussions with the property owners. We did have a couple property owners that said, look, I really just don't want to be involved. Don't touch my property. And we said, fine, we won't touch it. We're trying to offer this as a service to you to help increase, the property values, make your property more marketable. But they said, with respect, we want out of it. And we said, okay, we'll respect your wishes, and we didn't touch their properties. So really that's kind of the first step that we started going towards, is using zoning as an incentive for people. Now, what has happened since we've rezoned it, and we have this plan in place, as mentioned before, you have to adopt those plans, you have to give them teeth, you have to have the regulations to back them up. Because of the economy, nothing has really happened yet. No new development projects or redevelopment projects have happened yet, but we have had interest. We have had developers that specialize in downtown development or redevelopment approach the village with questions. They want to know what happened, what's in the plan, what do the regulations say, and so there has been interest. There have been property owners that have come to us and said, I want to sell my property. Who can I talk to? There are people that are out there that have their properties up for sale, and there are developers that we've heard of buying up these properties individually. And in a downtown where you have a mixture of land usage, you've got residential, you've got retail commercial, you've got offices, the village halls down there, you've got a lot of different land uses, and as a developer, land acquisition is difficult. You've got some properties that want to buy, others that don't. So what we try to do as the village is make it more profitable for those landowners to sell off to the developers, and the developers realize that these regulations are really going to help them be able to develop more of the land for less than what they could have with the old regulations in place. So that's the case study with the downtown. I also wanted to touch base on a couple different development projects that we've done over the last few years that use sales tax incentives. The village has a policy when it's giving out money that they're not giving the money out and getting nothing in return. And that's kind of the big question, is what's the return on this investment for the community? So the village's policy has always been, if someone comes and asks for a sales tax incentive or some other economic financial incentive, what is the village going to get? Their policy has been, we want to see infrastructure put in by the developer, paid for, in order to make the project work. So the two different projects that we've had, one was the Super Walmart that came in. Another one was a large shopping center that had a number of large tenants, Menards, a JCPenney, and Office Depot. So the developers came to the village and said, look, we've got these projects, we've got these big tenants that are coming in, we've got contracts underway, but we need some help financially. So the village said, well, all right, that sounds great, but we really have some roadways and some other utilities and infrastructure that are not sufficient for the new uses. These new retail centers generate a lot of traffic, they generate a lot of people, a lot of wear and tear on the existing and under port infrastructure. So what the developers did is they paid for upfront all the major road improvements. At the Walmart sites, there's a state highway and a county highway that intersect at the crossroads where the Super Walmart went. The state, as you know, with IDOT, they have a lot of requirements when you start touching their right-of-way and you put in a lot of new development. There was a lot of infrastructure that was required, lane improvements, traffic light improvements, and so forth. So Walmart agreed to pay up front for those improvements. They made improvements to the county road, and then they actually put in a brand new local road for the village to help move traffic around the site and make it more safe. So Walmart put up upfront money to pay for those improvements, and through the sales tax incentive, over a number of years, the village will be paying them back a certain percentage, every quarter until the debt is paid back.